Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Power Half Hour Unstoppable Business Owner. I'm your host, Dorothy Odell, founder of Unstoppable Overcomers Productions, your full service media agency. I would love to bring to the screen Rashelle Isip. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Dorothy. How are you today?
I'm great, full of energy.
Great, great.
even
Thank you so
though
much for
even
having me today.
Absolutely. If you could share with our audience just a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and what it is you do, how you serve your clients.
Sure. So, I'm a New York City based productivity consultant and time management coach. And I work with entrepreneurs, small business owners, and professionals. And I really help them better manage their time and energy so that they can reduce stress, work less, and make more money in their businesses and careers. And really, a lot of what I do is just helping people build a better relationship towards productivity or getting things done. And this really is done through a more holistic approach. I'm not into, the whole hustle and grind thing and how many things can we cross off in a day and how far can we run in a week. I'm really helping people get more comfortable with themselves and how they relate to work so that they can be more efficient and more effective, not only every day, but to be more sustainable in their work and how they relate to their clients and their customers as well.
Right. That's awesome. What made you decide to go into business with this kind of coaching?
Well, I've always loved helping people ever since I was a little girl. And I've always loved the subjects of organization and time management and productivity. So it just seemed like it was a natural fit. In my work, I'm able to help people through consulting and coaching. And what I really, really love to do is just see that transformation, to see someone come to me who knows that they need help. They've tried many different things and they're just ready for a change, right? They're eager, they're excited, and they're just ready to move forward into the future. And just to see that transformation, it's so wonderful. I mean, it just it shows like when someone has gone through that transformation, not only with their mindset, but also with their actions. It's just a wonderful thing to behold. I mean, their whole persona changes, and for me, that's really, really satisfying.
Awesome. So, what would you say to that workaholic out there that is grinding away, that is stressed out, and just is ready to just go to a deserted island and stay there by themselves?
So, one of the first things that I suggest to people when they come to me is to actually just take a step back. And this can be a bit uncomfortable for folks because we're just so used to going, going, and going, right? We have busy schedules, booked calendars, we're always doing something. But taking the time to do nothing or just to relax or take a moment for ourselves, that can be difficult. So I usually suggest to people to just give themselves a minute. If you can't do a minute, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 minutes. You can choose whatever time frame you like. But the idea here is just to become more comfortable with that stillness, with that difference from the busyness. Because all of these things, productivity, time management, organization, they're related in that there's always an on and an off. And we have to understand how we manage ourselves between those two settings. So, and there is room for gray, I will say that. But, to better understand how each setting feels. We know what it's like to be on, but do we know what it's like to be off, to be truly off, to just sit and do nothing? So I would, suggest to people just to try that. Set a timer for yourself. You can do it for 30 seconds, set a timer, and just be, and see what you take from that.
I love that. It's funny because the last 2 years I've been really focusing on going inward instead of just outward all the time, like the mass production of things. And some days it's hard to shut it all down. Especially if I'm in in a mode where I know I've got a tight deadline and things need to happen, and it's been go go go. It's very hard to shut that down. And so when you said, even try for 30 seconds or something like that, I find there's this one thing on YouTube that it's 5 minutes of, I call it gongs, but it's not gongs. It's some kind of meditation music. But it's like bells, and I find that when I
Mm.
get to a point that I can't focus, like focus and shut down, if I listen to that, I generally start to calm down. So I'm not sure if that's something that you recommend, but it was just, somebody recommended it to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to try that.
Yeah. No, I'm always up for having people just try things. You've got to try it at least once to see what it's like and how you feel about it. So, be open and be curious. You can try, like the meditation music or experiment with calming sounds, no sound at all, stillness, um, your favorite music, quiet music, different types of music, music with voice, vocalists or just orchestral. There's so much variety. Um, so just, yeah, play with things and just experiment. Just like when we're doing our work, we try new things. We don't always do our work in the same way. We adjust, we evolve, we adapt. So you can try it like that. Just give it a try and see how you feel.
Love it. I love it. Everything is beta testing. That's what I say. Beta test everything. See what
Yep.
works, see what doesn't work. Oh, that is
Hmm.
awesome. So, what three things would you say that you've had to overcome to get to where you're at in business today?
Oh, that's a great question. So I would say the first thing is getting out of the corporate or wherever you were before mindset, because that can be just something that you're used to. For me, I came from a corporate background and, making that transition of, okay, I was there and now I'm here. How do I structure my day? How do I manage requests? What does that time and space look like? So I think setting aside the time to, get clear on that, like, okay, what am I creating? What am I setting up here can be very important. Another thing too, I think, is being willing to try new things and experimenting. Um, I think just in general, like in our society, we want to make sure that things are perfect or that they're right, but other times you just need to go and try it out and just see how it plays out. So I think being a bit more daring and just, let me just go for it. Let's just see what it's like can be really helpful. I found that to be something that really just got me, going, just like, just be more curious about things. And then I think the third thing is to really honor and respect your skills and talents when it comes to sharing with other people. I mean, I've always enjoyed writing, but I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it when I realized that I could communicate with others, to express my ideas and thoughts, and words of encouragement and motivation. So I would say to folks, don't discount what comes naturally or what you enjoy doing, because you can use that as a strength to connect with your audience. So for me, I really enjoy writing. So I started off blogging and I've, grown that, writing articles, now doing podcasts too. I like speaking. So, you know, pay attention to those things and use them to help you as you're moving along.
Absolutely. Love, love, love all of that. And what three things do you help your clients overcome then?
Yes. So I would say the first thing is that feeling of overwhelm. When people come to me, they're usually at that point of, I'm really overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I have all the things. I don't know what to do first. So it's helping them take that step back, gaining that perspective and just slowing down so they can just be there in that space. Then, once we've addressed and continue to address, those feelings and that sense of overwhelm, is to address their perceived lack of something, be it time or space or ability to get things done. I think we've all kind of fallen into the trap in one way or another that there's only one way to do a thing, right? Like there's only one way to manage our time. And it's always, I only have this many minutes left. But what if we, for example, flip things around and realized, hey, a day is given to us every single day, right? We don't have to, barter for that or, pull it out of Mother Nature. It just happens. So, what if we took things from an approach of abundance, be it time or even resources when it comes to productivity? There's so many different tools and tips and approaches that we can use. We don't have to view things as, well, there's not enough, there's not the right thing. So helping people with that mindset and increasing it into one of abundance is another thing. And then I think the third thing too is really helping people cultivate that sense of self agency and being comfortable with how they work. So, what I mean by that is, when people come to me, they'll say, well, what's the best tip or what's the best tool or technique? What should I use? And, that's really a loaded question. And what I often say to people is, well, let's start off with the basics. Like, how do you like to work? What do you like to do? How do you react or interact with your environment? Are you visual? Do you like listening to things? Do you like writing? Are you tactile? Because these can give us some clues as to what we would naturally prefer when it comes to, productivity tools or apps or things like that. So I think helping people cultivate that sense of, oh, okay, I don't have to necessarily do it that way, but let me learn more about myself and how I like to work. And then let me find a solution that would help me. So it's not so much just looking for the thing, but better understanding yourself and being comfortable with that in order to find that solution that you're looking for.
Right. I love that because we're so used to doing things instead of being. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm really learning that it's like a kick in the head since the beginning of the year. You know, you don't have to always do. I grew up in an environment where my dad was like, no matter what, you're going to work or school, and unless you are dead or dying, that's the way it was. And it's I never missed a day of work until I met my husband 7 years ago. I'm just like, so to go
Mm.
from that to transition to that to the last 2 years, wait a minute. Life is meant to be enjoyed. It's not to be, work constantly around the clock. It's okay to take time to yourself, right? And just be who you want to be instead of doing it. So that's been like a huge takeaway, especially for what you're saying. But implementing that is not always easy.
Yeah, yeah, I know there's so much resistance that comes up because we've been experiencing that in society, that work ethic, like you have to do, like, yes, we have to do those things, but we can't stay awake for 24, 48, 72 hours straight. We have to go to sleep. So even in our own natural habitat, in our own natural environment and rhythms, there's cycles in nature, right? We're awake and then we go to sleep, and then what happens? We wake up again. So that's an example right there that things aren't sustained in one setting for a long period of time. So
Right.
we just have to be, I think, a bit more aware and mindful and just, willing to really get real and honest with ourselves about how we're feeling about things. Is this really supporting me and what I'm doing, or is this really draining me and making me feel worse?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what would you say motivates you?
Ooh. It really, really is that transformation and just that satisfaction of seeing someone light up and realize, oh, I, I can do it. I didn't think that I could do it, but I can. And I feel so much more confident and calm and relaxed because the way that I view things is I'm helping people, become better acquainted, more comfortable with themselves and their work so that they can actually go out and do the work that they need to do in this world.
Mhm.
So, wherever you are and whatever role you play or roles that you play in your life, for me, it's, well, how can I help you just be a better you, right? So that you can serve your clients and your customers well, so that you can be a better friend, family member, so that you can be that better neighbor, better acquaintance, because if we can all improve ourselves in some way, then that means that we've improved the world in at least one way,
Right.
So I really see that as just the ripple effect. If I can help someone gain that sense of confidence and, like, wow, it just goes on in a ripple effect. One of the things that has really surprised me over the years is that when I'm working with folks, there tends to be a ripple, in their world when they're making changes, when they're making shifts in their mindset or how they're showing up to work or setting boundaries. People start to take notice, their friends, their family, and ooh, and sometimes it rubs off in a really good way. People are like, "Oh wow, I can see that you've really been trying, hard. I'm really impressed. Now you got me thinking about, my boundaries and things like that." So that's just such a nice, warm feeling to know that I've not only touched that one person, but everybody else that they've been involved with, or dealing with, in their lives. That's really satisfying.
I love that you said that because I have a particular friend that's like, man, I just wish my husband would this or this or this. And I'm like, why don't you be it first? And
Mm.
then, he will follow. I promise you, he will. And it won't be overnight. It's going to take a little bit because I've seen it in my own household, right? It's just, I know when I'm at the top of my game and just being whom I'm supposed to be, other than in the realm of just doing it and being frustrated because I'm the only one doing things. I know when I'm in the zone because I can
Yeah.
tell because my husband is in his zone, even though he has no clue about any of that stuff. It's up to me to bring it into the house, right? And like he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And if I was to go and tell him and say, hey, try being instead of doing, he'd look at me like I had a third head. So eventually he might get there or he might not, and that's okay. But it's up to us to, forge the way in that. And that's not always easy. And I guess one of the things I see is, when I feel that the house is out of alignment, I want to blame them, of course, but it's always starts with me, right? And so I love that you said that because again, it's about balance and it's about um, finding the right cadence, the right things in life. And it's if you would have told me that I was thinking this way 20 years ago, I would have said you were like insane. And like, what kind of juju, a Ouija thing are you doing?
I mean, I always like to bring it back to nature, right? It's it's something that we really don't control. Like, let's say, the seasons. This is one of my favorite examples, right? So, here in the northern hemisphere, we're just coming out of winter, we're into spring. Obviously, winter just doesn't turn into spring, but there's a gradual change, right? Things change slowly and slowly, and then before you know it, boom, it's full-blown spring. And then there's changes, subtle, you don't realize it, and then that spring turns into summer. And there's certain things that we do just, during the seasons, right? Whether it's the time we spend outdoors, what we do indoors. And, these changes are happening every single day, but we don't necessarily pay attention to them, but they're happening and they're changing and they're going. So I see that, as part of my work, just to help people be more aware and observational that there is a season to our work. There is a rhythm to our days, to our weeks, to our months, to our years. We That's why it's so important to take that step back, because once you do, then you can see, oh, there's a pattern here in the month. I wonder if I could plan my time around that to make the most out of, the busy times, and to maybe put that slow or fallow time to use, just to get people thinking about things, because it's not go, 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 go in nature, right? I mean, it's not, summer all the time, and it's not winter all the time,
Right.
There are those cycles and changes.
Right. Love that. Yeah, I love the analogy of the seasons. Well, especially us that get the seasons. Our friends
Mhm.
that are in other parts of the country don't get that, but that's okay.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's there's changes, right? There might be a dry season or a wet season. They're totally different. So no
true.
matter where you live, I am sure that there's some sort of difference or change, of things that you do during certain points of the year that are different than other points of the year.
Right.
So it really is just getting a better understanding of that. Doesn't matter what seasons you have, but there's always some sort of change.
The love, love, love that. Thank you. Yes. I have not heard of it said that way before. So thank you for that. Another visual. I'm a visual learner, so perfect. So I know on your sheet here you had some business tips and tricks for our people. Would love for you to definitely go over that and for our audience, so that they could learn. I know you've alluded to pretty much all of that as we've been speaking, but your top five tips for business owners to have them be successful. What would you say they would be?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is to set boundaries, and strong boundaries. And that means not only setting them, but enforcing them. Because you can set a boundary, but if you're not there to enforce it, well, there was really no point to setting that boundary. So, be sure to set that boundary. Um, Also, get in the habit of communicating. And this will help you not only with, the work that you're doing with your clients and customers, but also in setting boundaries and just relating to people, because we're not mind readers, right? We need to clearly voice and articulate what's going on in our head. So, the more you can communicate, hey, this meeting is coming up. This is what I need from you. Or, hey, I'm going to be late. I already have, a week's notice because of something that's going on. Let me outline this for you and make a plan as to next steps. I think there's a tendency sometimes for people to just clam up and just, well, they'll understand, they'll know what I mean. We don't know what you mean. So that's why it's so important to communicate. So set boundaries, communicate. Another thing for business owners, I would say, to cultivate that stillness in your business. Now, that might seem kind of strange, right? Well, how am I supposed to be still in my business? Well, there's times when you're working with clients or customers, and then there's times when you're doing more businessy type things like administration or operations. See where you can use that to your advantage. How can you better understand those changes of the time between when you're working with someone one on one, or helping somebody with a product or a service versus that other time, because that is a difference there, when we're talking about time and doing our work. And another thing I would say too is, this is kind of related to structures, but start thinking about creating systems. And these are things that you can do. You don't necessarily need to buy a thing, but the idea is a system where you have a solution for something that happens on and on and on and on again. So let's use an example of someone who is coming into a store. Well, what happens when that person makes that purchase? What's the next step? Are you collecting information from them? Do they get a certain thing when you're wrapping up items for them? What happens next? How do you stay in touch with them? So those types of systems. And if you're in an office, if there's certain types of administration or paperwork that you do, there's no need to reinvent that. Make a little checklist for yourself of things that you can do at the end of the week. Boom, 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 done. Um, so that's something that people can do. And then lastly, this, you know, can really cut deep. It is related to time management and productivity and organization, but try doing something that scares you. And by this I mean challenge that perception of what you have for yourself. So, sometimes I'll work with people and they end up being late to meetings and appointments on the regular. It's just, they'll say that's just something I've done. So the challenge here for them is to arrive on time and to think about, like, well, what is this? What is going on here? To challenge yourself and think about, well, why couldn't I do that? Why couldn't I do that action or take that step? Because there's a lot of opportunity for growth when you look at that thing that is staring you right in the face, but you're hesitant, or fearful to do or take that next step.
Love it. Sorry if you're hearing my husband's out on the lawnmower.
Oh,
He just didn't realize he was home, and all of a sudden I hear it. So I apologize if you hear it in the background. I thank you so much for those tips. Those are amazing. Love them all. Totally something that every business owner can implement. And I especially love the communication. I had this theory and expectation that, wait a minute, my husband should just know what I'm thinking, which clearly that does not happen. And then we all get frustrated and, well, you didn't tell me. Oh, that's right. You can't read my mind, right? What a shame. That would be wonderful if you could. And I especially like your, try something new, get out of your comfort zone type thing. Even learning something different that you would never have thought possible. Um, and clearly that is exactly how this show started. I had never been in media before. I had been a bookkeeper forever. So, almost feels like since I came out of the womb. And uh, then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and I was just like, well, wait a minute, what can I do differently? Because I'm really tired of data entry. Wrote a book, got the book out, started the shows, and now here we are 3 years later. So I love that you said that. If I would not have taken a look at something different, we would not be here today. So
yeah. And the beauty of that too, of trying new things, is that it does get easier, over time. It's like what you thought was, really scary, or, ooh, I wouldn't do that. Once you do that thing and realize, oh, it wasn't that bad, it gets easier, over time with different things. So, and it's just, I think, a function of being alive and living, really, right? Trying new things, experimenting, visiting new places, and it just helps you grow as a person.
I love that. Love that. So, what is the one thing? I just started asking this and I forgot. God, I was going to ask this question. What
Okay.
is one thing that most people don't know about you?
One thing that most people don't know about me. Well, I'll tell them now, but then it won't be a surprise, but it's okay. I've actually written blog posts about it. But I actually organized my Halloween candy as a kid.
Okay,
That's
tell me more about that. Organize it how?
well,
Alphabetically?
no, I had this plan because I love candy, right? I mean, candy, right?
Right.
So, I, you'd go out in Halloween, collect your candy, and it was always like this race, of, well, I have my candy and seeing my siblings enjoy their candy, and then someone, weeks down the way would have my favorite candy, and I'm thinking, what? How did that happen? So for me, I devised a little system. I took a little inventory and then started ranking my candies about which ones were the most pleasurable. Like, I don't know, let's say a gooey chocolatey thing,
Right.
versus maybe a hard candy. And so I'd, over the course of several days and weeks, ration out, oh, is this a hard candy day and another one? So that I could ensure that I had those chocolatey pieces towards the end. So it was
I love that. Were you going to take the least pleasurable and then trade it?
that happened too, because we would do our little, trades, like, hey, I got these. Do you want that? Yeah. So that was also helpful too. But And it was easier too to look at the list. What do I have left? Ooh, I like that one. Okay. And how about this one? Okay. Cross it off my list instead of going through the bag. So
I love that. So, okay. Well, that reminds me, I've never shared this story before. So I used to date a guy that would actually take inventory of everything that was in his cupboard, like food wise. I am just like go with the flow. I kind of know what's in there, unless my husband's been cooking, then I like lose all track of everything. But yeah, it was surprising. He had an Excel spreadsheet. Everything was inventoried, itemized. He knew exactly how many ramen noodles he had in there, what kind, what flavor. I was like, dude, I have never seen anything like this in my life. I was hilarious. And now I love the Halloween candy thing. I can see that though. So, well, you can see if your sibling stole any because you should know exactly how many was left.
that's true too. I mean, I don't think anybody ever, stole someone else's, but yeah, I mean, it was, I think, just like that idea of like having this seasonality
Right.
activity for me, just like, how do we make the most out of what's here? So it
Right.
was kind of, like a fun little kid experiment. How far can I get this year? Can I make it to December? I don't know.
Depends on how
Depends. It
many
really,
I eat.
right. It really depends.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, and thank you for bringing your tips, your tricks, and sharing with our audience. How you definitely serve the community. So, where would be the best place for people to reach you at?
Sure. So people can find me on my website, theorderexpert.com, and they can also find me on LinkedIn under Rashelle Isip.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody that's listening today, and especially on the replay as well, because I know that everybody can't exactly be here at 5:30, and that's why we have the replay on our YouTube channel. Make sure you check that out and subscribe. And I just want to give a shout out to our last sponsor of today's show, which is Cast Magic. For those of us that are coaches or podcasters, this is the tool that you need in your toolbox. Go sign up today for your free trial. I swear it saves me like 10 hours a week on my social media and definitely repurposing my content. It's a great way to save time. And it's like the investment in it is very minimal. So definitely go take a look. And thank you so much, Rashelle, for your time. Appreciate you. I appreciate all your wisdom that you've given today. And don't forget, guys, be unstoppable in all that you do. And see you same time, same channel next week. Bye for now.